I recorded myself reading the folktale. Ne? Let's start. Good afternoon, class.
Good afternoon, sir.
How are you all doing? It's good as well. I hope you are all doing well in your studies, especially during this time of COVID-19, right?
Yes.
So in our previous lessons, we were busy discussing some issues concerning African nationalism, right?
Yes.
Previously, what did we focus on? What? Yes? Sorry? We did focus on World War II. Of course, it had an impact on African nationalism, right? So today we are taking a different approach. As we go deep with our topic, African nationalism in South Africa, we are taking a different approach, which is called a folktale. We are going to use a folktale to explore issues of nationalism within South Africa. Do you get it?
Yes.
Now the first question is, what is a folktale? Do you have any idea what is a folktale? You can tell us in vernacular, in any language you understand, what is a folktale? What is it? Yes? It's the oral, traditional way of telling a story. It's stories that were passed down from generations to generations. They are told by word of mouth. It's oral. If they say it's oral, it means that it was told by what? Word of mouth. So, folk tales can be based on fictional characters. Do you know that? What is a fictional character? Yes? Things that don't exist. Someone can come up with a story and say, this person did this and that, or this particular community was able to conquer these people like this. What happens is, they are constructed. We can also have orals based on a true story. Ever watch the movie and at the end they say, based on a true story? It means it's based on what? On a real account. Right? Yes. Yes. So today we are taking that approach. We're going to be listening to a folktale. I have compiled it based on your content. And I require you guys to analyze it and tell me, how do you understand it with regards to your content, right? Okay. Now, before we can proceed, has any one of you ever told a tale or a story? Remember in primary? Has anyone tell us? Ever got the opportunity to tell a story or a tale? This? Was it true? Was it based on a true story? Or you made it up?
It's just made up.
You just made it up?
Yes.
Okay. So, just like I said, some of the tales or folk tales are not based on a true story. They are fictional. They made them up. You create characters, right? So a tale can be used to explore the truth. A tale or a folk tale can be used to expose what's happening in society at that time. You know that? Some of the plays that were written by Shakespeare, they are not based on a true story. They are what? They are fiction. It's not real. It's made up, right?
Yes.
Can you guys make sure you listen attentively? And you may take down notes while listening to the folktale. I have recorded the folktale. Yours is to just listen, right? Then those who have soft copies, you can read along, right? So that it makes it easy for you to understand. Are we ready? Okay.
Once upon a time, in the enchanted place called Azania, during winter season in the afternoon, shadows of the Azanian hills had lengthened and touched the valleys down below when the convocation of eagles marched into the interior of the land already occupied by the charge of chicks. The arrival of the uninvited guests changed the livelihood of chicks forever. In the land, rural simplicity was the order of the day amongst the charge of chicks. Principles of egalitarianism and sharing were stressed. Chicks' nationality was strong and uncompromised. One silly day, the owner of the convocation came with a great and glamorous object in the large society in exchange for land. In the midst of excitement, the leaders of the church agreed to do the transition. Suddenly, the word was spread and soon celebration took place all over the land. Everyone in the entire animal kingdom jubilated for the shiny, tricky, treacherous object. If only they knew the intentions of the white eagles. Even on the present day, it is believed that the white eagles brought quite specific ideas about what constituted a civilized way of life for charcoal chicks, about acceptable cultural and religious beliefs as well as practices. The settler white eagles each came with their own seat of division in the Azanian societies, grounded in their nationalities, languages, religions, social and cultural environment, as well as occupations. These two were to be reflected in the organizations they established and in the manner in which they interacted with each other. In the blink of an eye, the precious arable land was divided amongst the newcomers, large portion to each eagle. This brought anger to the clash of chicks. Political unrest began, and new players in the game began to flourish with pride in their languages. White eagles' language began to dominate, which weakened and eroded the importance of indigenous Azanian languages. There came a time when some of the charcoal chicks decided that enough is enough and formed alliances in order to defeat their common enemy. An organization in 1902 was formed to protect the political, social, and economic rights of the charcoal chicks. In the early 20th century, in 1912, another organization was formed which challenged the rulership of the white eagle. To a certain extent, in 1994, they conquered the white eagle, and some adjustments were made to accommodate the charcoal chicks. Even today, the structure of the old system still impacts the livelihood of the majority charcoal chicks.
That's it.
Once upon a
Okay, we had the tale or the folk tale. What is the folk tale about? In brief, what is it all about? You can just sum up, yes?
I said, according to my own understanding, the folk tale is about white settlers coming to Africa, taking over, while next they communicate that these people are coming to take over.
Yes, he is relating the folk tale to white settlers coming to where? South Africa. Anyone else? What is the folk tale about? And who are the characters? Can you compare the characters? Who are the characters in the folktale? Yes?
So the eagles are the white people.
Yes, the white eagles.
Yes.
They represent who?
White.
White people. That's his opinion. Yes?
And then the cheeks represents the black and the colored people.
The charcoal chicks. They say they represent what?
The black.
The black people. Particularly, right? You see, charcoal. If something is charcoal, what color is it? Black. It's representing what? Black people. So, would you believe this folktale if you didn't know about African nationalism?
No.
Why would you believe it?
I would believe it because there are some tales that have been just so it's like something that happened long time ago.
Like something that happened long time ago. But you do realize that I made it all up. But it's relating to what? To what happened in the past. You get it? What are those characters' aims, especially the white eagles? The white eagles, what did they do? What were their aims, if you think? Yes?
They wanted to take control of the land.
They wanted to take control over the charcoal chicks. We are focusing on the tail for now. Ne? So that is basically what it is about. I am introducing you today to African nationalism, how it occurred, right? How it all started, right? Okay. Let's quickly go to our slides. Towards the end, they say an organization was formed in 1902. Remember, an organization was formed by what? By the charcoal chicks. They formed an organization in 1902. My question is, which organization do you think it was regarding our context or our topic in African nationalism? Yes? Yes?
African People's Organization.
It's the African People's Organization. Now, I am wondering, what was this organization all about? Why was it formed? Those are the crucial questions we should ask. We know from the charcoal chicks that they wanted to retain what is theirs from who? From the white eagles. In the context of our own history here, why was it formed? The African People's Organization. Yes?
And the African People's Organization was formed to promote equal rights.
It was formed to promote equal rights. Anyone else? Yes?
To protect the rights of people.
Yes, same as him, to protect the rights of people, particularly black and colored people. Yes?
It was formed to promote unity and solidarity. Yeah.
To promote solidarity, yes?
And to defend the social, economic, and political rights of blacks and colored people.
To promote, yes, the social, political, and economic rights of the natives, right? Who are we referring to when we say the natives? Yes, particularly black people. Ne? Now, I want us to focus more on this organization. Who constituted the organization? Who were the members, particularly at that time when it was formed? Yes? The middle class. Yes, it's the middle class. An example of the people who were forming the middle class at that time, there were two individuals who were forming the middle class. Middle class. At the back, the lady. Teachers, yes? Kind of, because they're working for the government, can we agree? The police at the time, they were ranking high, eh? Okay. Yes?
Doctors
May have lawyers mostly, because they do mention lawyers, yes?
Politicians.
Sorry?
Politicians.
Who are those ones? Okay. Politicians, yeah, you might say that. Lastly, mostly, it's writers. Remember, most of our struggling heroes were what? Were writers. The likes of Steve Biko. Remember, Soul Black, they were writers, right? So this organization was formed. Who were they opposing this organization? Why did they have to form this organization from the start? Anyone? Yes? Please, I just want to know the people they were fighting against. Yes? The Africans and English-speaking people. That is the white settlers. From the folktale, the white settlers are represented by the white eagles. Remember, the white eagles wanted to occupy the land that was owned by the Chapel Chicks. They did not have claims or rights to that particular land and resources. You get it? Yes. From our folktale, there is a mention that in 1912, there's an organization that was formed. 1912, an organization was formed. Which organization was that? You name it fully. Yes?
The South African Native National Congress.
The South African Natives National Congress. Yes, it was formed in 1912 in Bloemfontein. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Yes. So I just want to know, why was it formed? Those are the important questions we should ask ourselves. Yes?
To bring people together to defend their freedom and rights.
Yes, to bring people together to defend their freedom and human rights. Anyone else? What was the ANC all about? Remember, in 1923, it was renamed the African National Congress, right? Does anyone know why it was renamed the African National Congress? It's going to lead us somewhere else, yes?
So I think because it was almost South Africa because the whole country was mixed as African.
Yes, now, are you going to try? Yes?
Because they're promoting for all Africans.
Yes, because now they are trying to be inclusive. They are trying to include everyone in what? In the organization. Remember previously it was called South African Natives. Once you say natives, it means now it's only limited to black people mostly. They are natives. You get it? Yes. So now they are trying to bring different groups of people. Remember I told you, in South Africa, before you had what? You had Zulu people. They had their own tribes, their own area. You had what? Pedi people. They had their own tribes. So they were separated, and now the ANC is trying to bring different ethnicities, people who spoke different languages, in order to defend their human rights. What other reasons was the ANC formed for? The lady at the back. Equal rights, not it stated, but yeah, equal rights. Yes? We can't say really maintain because they are not in power. If you are maintaining something, it means you have it now. You want to maintain it. Get it? Yes. Okay, that's one of the things they did. They sent what? A delegation to a certain country. Who knows the country? Can I have different hands? I'm tired of the same people. Yes?
It was England.
They were sent to England. They sent people to what? England. To do what exactly? Yes?
It was the British government to talk to the peoples of white people that in South Africa.
Yes, they went to the British government in order to what? To ask the British government to recognize them as the natives, as the original people who occupied South Africa at that time. They were asking the government, although you are possessing all the resources, can you at least recognize us in terms of the economy? You want to be included in the governance. You want to have rights just like the white settlers, right? Why did they choose to go to England instead of any other country? Why England? Why the Britain government at that time? Yes? The settlers in South Africa, particularly the British, the English-speaking people were from England. So we were their colony. They colonized us. You know that? Okay. Now, I want us to focus more on the formation of the Union of South Africa. In 1910, this union was formed in South Africa. Who formed this union? In 1910, a union was formed. Yes? It was formed by the British and the Afrikaners. These were white settlers. They were not native here in South Africa. They came from their own countries or from the Western world and colonized South Africa. Do you get it? Yes. They came to colonize us. What were their aims? What were they hoping to achieve by colonizing South Africa? Remember, Africa is very, very big, but they chose South Africa specifically. Why South Africa? What were they going to benefit in South Africa? Why South Africa? Yes?
The resources.
The resources. That was the first main aim. To obtain what? The resources. Right? What kind of resources did South Africa have at that time? At the back. Gold. We had gold. Where was it discovered? Gold. Here in Johannesburg. And the Gauteng province, it's correct. Yeah?
Yes.
What other resources? Yeah, there's this guy.
Land.
The land. Remember, the land as well. It's part of their main aim. You have the land, you have what? The resources. Once you are able to secure the land, yeah, cattle, they form part of having the resources, right? If you have the land, you have the resources. Yes? Diamonds. Diamonds as well. And they were discovered where? Kimberley. Diamonds were discovered in Kimberley. Yes. So this union was established as a self-governing body in South Africa. Okay. Let's move on. Let's talk about the Natives Land Act, which was passed by who? The Natives Land Act. Do you remember it?
Yes.
Yes. What was it all about, and who implemented this kind of act or policy? Yes?
Like the youth.
Sorry?
Like the youth.
Not exactly. The 1913 Natives Land Act, a policy by the
White government.
Yes, the white government, particularly the white settlers, they implemented this policy, the 1913 Land Act. So what did this mean for the natives? And how was it implemented, this policy? How was this policy implemented? Yes. It restricted black people from renting or purchasing the land in South Africa. How did it operate? When it started, how was the land divided amongst white and black people? Yes,
Everyone was separated, and the white people chose the good side for themselves.
yes. So particularly this act, its main aim was to ensure that white people are able. It was to ensure that white people are able to occupy areas that had what economic strategic areas like. You look at Johannesburg, it had gold. So it was strategic in a way, right? Yeah. So now, once you have the land, you have the resources. What other aims did this Land Act have? The aims of the Natives Land Act. Yes?
So I think by even white people black people took 7% of the land.
7%?
Of the land that is unsettled.
Yes, they were given 7% of the land. And bear in mind that this particular land that was given to black people, it was not productive, most of it. You can see we have townships here. There's nothing productive in those townships. Yes, you wanted to say something?
You said they made the African people to work in mines.
Yes, because one of the challenges they had was that they needed more workforce. And most African people preferred to practice subsistence farming at that time. They did not want to work for what? For the white men. So if we take the land, how are you going to practice subsistence farming? Are you going to achieve anything? No, if you don't have the land, you cannot produce, you cannot harvest. That means you will die of hunger. So it was a way of compelling, of forcing black people to what? To work for them. Right? Any questions? Any questions? Now, we are looking at how the ANC or the South African Natives National Congress was able to challenge what? To challenge this government that excluded black people at that time. Right? We are going to look at how did this government exploit black people and how the ANC responded. Let's look at the ANC, particularly the ANC clique. They are responding just like how from our folktale, the Chapel Chicks responded to the implementation of who? Of the White Eagles, right? Let's look at the ANC. How did they respond? The ANC, how did they respond to the formation of this African Union and the implementation of these policies. Yes?
First of all, they respond peacefully by sending the letter to the government.
Yes. They decided to respond peacefully by sending what? A delegation to England. Right? As time goes on, they wanted to change their approach. There's a certain guy who brought what? The ANC Youth League. That's when things started to change in 1944. Do you remember that? Do you remember the guy?
Nelson Mandela.
The one who brought the Youth League, the one who brought Nelson Mandela, Anton Lembede, Oliver Tambo, Walter Sisulu.
So I think it's
Is Dr. Alfred Doma, right? So he brought these ANC Youth League guys. By that time, Mandela and his friends, they were still young, right? It was 1944. You get it? They brought what? A more militant approach. What is a militant approach? A more militant approach. Remember, this guy said they were trying to resolve issues peaceful. Now they are bringing what? A more militant approach. What does that mean?
Say by bringing violence and striking the state.
Yes. They were now protesting. But I want the militant approach they are talking about here. What does it mean if it's more militant? Remember I told you about active and passive resistance. Boycotts, they are what? They are passive resistance. You just refuse to do what? To use certain, maybe if you are boycotting a bus, you refuse to use it, right? That is boycotting, refusing to use something, right? Now I am looking for the active resistance they applied, right? They say here, initially the ANC Youth League had an exclusive view of Africanism. They believe that black Africans should struggle against apartheid on their own, not in alliance with others, and that they should aim to create a black African state. Initially, that means from the beginning, initially, from the original creation of the ANC Youth League, it was that Africans should struggle on their own. They didn't have ideas that everyone should be included in the struggle. They believed that only black people were supposed to what? Yes, they believe that they are the ones who were going to set them free from the chains of colonialism or of the government at that time, right?
Yes.
Yes. They say some members of the ANC did not accept the non-racial vision of Freedom Charter. The Freedom Charter, here it comes. What do we mean by charterism? Charterism, what do we mean? It's in your glossary. Charterism. Charterism, anyone? Charterism.
It's
Yes.
an approach to nationalism that is absolute non-racial based on the Freedom Charter of 1955.
Now, this is a form of nationalism that excludes race, ethnicity. It has nothing to do with your skin color. So now the ANC is bringing what? Charterism, which is a form of nationalism that wanted to include everyone who was for black people. Even if you are white and you feel like, no, this government doesn't treat black people right. If you want to join the ANC, you are allowed. By who? The Freedom Charter. Remember, the Freedom Charter was drawn by who? Every race. It's called Congress of the People at that time. It was drawn in 1955. So that's when it was drawn. It states that, do we know the principles or values of the Freedom Charter? Anyone ever heard about the Freedom Charter? What are the values of the Freedom Charter? You know them, you are living one of those principles now. Yes?
So I think like what freedom 14, choose to 14.
Yes.
You can choose which government.
Yes, the principles of democracy, they are rooted in what? In the Freedom Charter. All people shall be free, and they will what? They will be allowed to choose their own government. What other principles are there? Okay, I'll explain that. Yes. Yes, land shall be shared amongst everyone. Everyone will have access to what? To land. Someone was saying here, the fees must fall. The Freedom Charter says this about that. The doors of learning shall be open. What does that mean? It means everyone should have access to what? To learning. Yes, let's look at our basic education. Most of the public schools are not paying. I told you myself, I've never paid anything since I started schooling in grade 1. It's from what? From the Freedom Charter. It's rooted back in the Freedom Charter. Let's talk about the issue of the land. Is it resolved?
Not quite, no.
Not really, then?
Yes.
Do you think we are getting there?
No.
Why? You raise up your hands and then we start reasoning. The land issue, yes.
Due to the racism, is done by the white people.
Done by the white people. That's his opinion, yes?
Suppose there are still white people who think that black people are inferior.
Yes, we still have white people who think that people are inferior. You see, these issues are still affecting us even today. Remember, the Land Act, the land was taken from there. Even today, most of the land is occupied by who?
White people.
White people. And you still have more black people.
Yes.
What has changed?
Nothing.
Not much. Yes, you look at the land. Yes?
The only thing that has changed is that people can rotate around the country. That's the only thing that changed.
The gentleman thinks we are just rotating around the country. Remember, you had the pass system at that time.
Yes.
So you were not supposed to be found anywhere, or if you don't have the permit to be there, you are going to be in trouble with the government. Right? Yes, so these issues are still affecting us even today, as you can see. Yes?
So nowadays, you can live in the same suburbs with the black people. No more living
White
in
people.
suburbs.
Yes, you can live in the suburbs with the white people. But you are paying a lot to live there.
We didn't.
You have to pay your bond. You know it.
Yes.
Right? They say here, the Freedom Charter proclaims that South Africa belongs to all who live in it, and that all shall be equal before the law. Are we equal before the law? Do you think we are equal? You raise up your hand and tell me why not. Yes.
Sir, I can say they tell us that everyone is equal, but it's not true, sir. Like as for me, so you see some black and I'm Zulu.
Yes.
When I walk into a store and I rotate, maybe prospect one, they'll ask me what are you doing here, but the white person can do it, they'll not be asking me.
See, we experience different situations. Someone else may say, what were you doing there? The construction of new sense of belonging and identity as South Africans can be seen as the positive face of nationalism. Remember, this concept we have of rainbow nation, a Have you heard of the term rainbow nation?
Yes.
What does it mean? Yes.
I think they are all the same.
Yes. It's rooted there as well. Anyone with a different opinion?
So I think it means unity.
It means unity. Yes. Rainbow nation. Yes.
Or say the motherland.
The motherland. Yes. Diversity. Unity and diversity. Diversity in terms of what?
Cultural.
Different cultures. Different what? Races, religions, and what?
Sexuality.
Sexuality, that is included as well. Yes. Languages.
And skin color.
Yes, that's the race one. Then.
Yes.
So, in 1994, that's when we were able to say we have obtained our freedom, right? Do we understand the term of Charterism now? How is it rooted in our modern society?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry? Questions, anyone? Let's discuss. Any question or concern with regards to our content? Yes? Sorry? The Freedom Charter. The question is, who established the Freedom Charter? Who established the Freedom Charter? Remember, the Freedom Charter does not belong to the ANC. It was adopted by the ANC. And when you adopt something, it's not yours. You are taking it from somewhere else. You are borrowing.
It's a second hand.
Different people, independent politicians, people in South Africa, they just came in Soweto and they decided to form what? This idealistic society they imagined. The society that they wanted. You did not have organizations, but you had Congress of the people. You have ordinary South Africans, including white people were there. They were there, white people, when the Freedom Charter was drawn. Do you know that? Yes. Indians were there, colors were there. In fact, everyone was there. Those who wanted what? A nation that was going to include everyone. So that is when the Freedom Charter was drawn. And then the ANC decided that, no, this is what we've been looking for. We should take this route. Which is why you have this nation that compromises of different people, different languages. Right? Is any question? Anyone?
Thank you, sir.
You got it?
Yes.
Okay. So tomorrow. Okay, thank you. Tomorrow we will continue. We are going to look deeply into